Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Dylan, and we're going to be talking a little bit more into communications. So, today, what I have in store for you is a question. What fails first in a disaster? All right, and that's communications. So, if you thought about that, then great on you. You're already a step in the right direction. Now, to preface this, I have already filmed this video, and I felt that the timing and going through all the topics and everything, it just didn't seem very fluid. So, and it kind of came off as kind of nervous. So I wanted to refilm it just so you guys have the greatest possible quality video. So yeah, moving right into things. So, the hidden fragility in modern communications is tied to the amount of infrastructure that we have in everyday communication technology. So, starting out with cell phones, you got to have power, you have to have towers, you have to have fiber lines for internet, data centers. So, that's all huge things that require a ton of infrastructure. None of it you can own on your own. You have to pay somebody else, a service provider, to facilitate these things for you. And without even there's nothing you can do if it goes down. In the moment, you can't fix the problem as an individual. So that brings up a great topic now. So today is January 16th, and 2 days ago there was vandalism, I believe, in Brooklyn, New York. That's what I've read briefly online, was Brooklyn, New York. There was a bunch of fiber optic cables for Verizon that were ripped out. And there's been speculation as to why they were ripped out, whether people thought that there was copper in them or what have you. But they were ripped out, and it took out the entire Verizon network. So I saw a picture online. There was like a data map based on where people were having outages, and it was all the way up from Maine down the East Coast, all the way to about where Tennessee is. So all of the Tennessee down of the southern United States, and then spots out in California. All of Hawaii was down, and this is a huge deal because with these issues here, we're talking about infrastructure. There was one centralized location where damage occurred, and it took out the communication plan for an entire network throughout the United States. This is a major problem with today's infrastructure, because I don't have the answer. I have no idea how to fix the infrastructure problem. The only thing I can suggest is have a backup plan. So in my last video, we talked about PACE plans, and we're going to get a little bit more back into that. But right now, we're going to move into the next part of the video. And I've got my notes here, so if you see me looking down, that's the reason. But my second point, what happens during a disaster? So power can go out, water can be unavailable, cell service and Wi-Fi often stop working entirely. When these issues arise, you're too late in your planning aspect if you're trying to figure out what to do next. My suggestion is make a PACE plan, which is what we talked about in the last video. It stands for primary, alternate, contingency, and emergency. And it seems very redundant, but having this PACE plan will allow you to understand, okay, when X doesn't happen, Y does need to happen. And that's just what we're going to talk about now. So, why cellular networks can fail. Power lines power outages can fail, and they will cause the towers to go down. And with the new 5G everywhere, I'm not a 5G conspiracy theorist, but there are towers quite literally everywhere now. Whether it's like on top of like a grocery store, they're trying to put them like every 500 feet. But if those can be overloaded so easily because they are tied into a local network. So like if my house loses power, there's probably a tower that my phone is relying on to get service out to the other towers so that they can talk to people in the world. Because a cell phone, just like all the other radios we talk about, is a radio. It talks on a frequency, and that frequency is very high in the ultra high frequency space. So that's how that works. So we talked power outages. Towers can be damaged or destroyed from flooding or hurricanes, tornadoes, that kind of thing. You got to really think about those. And then the fiber lines cut. We just talked about the Verizon incident in New York, but that can happen from a disaster as well. It doesn't just have to be either an attack, which I don't think that it was. Nobody is reporting that it is. The Verizon has said that they don't believe that it is either. But vandalism can happen. But just a natural disaster can also cause that. And then network overload. So that's how it ties back into my experience with the tornado here in Tennessee. And we didn't have cellular service because we didn't have network service because there was so much overload on the network because towers were down because of power outages, and there was too many people trying to call out that it overloaded the entire service. All right, so disasters don't always look the same, but the problem is always communication. So we talked in the last video as well about how we have communication problems in times of need, because if you can't communicate and you have information, it can put stress on you, and if you can't communicate and you don't have information, it can be a very stressful situation to be in. So tornadoes, hurricanes, floods, wildfires in California and Hawaii, like all of that stuff damages infrastructure. And if you are 100% reliant on the ground infrastructure, then we are going to have problems when the disaster strikes. All right. So my fourth point is when communication fails, chaos fills the gap. So we talked about this briefly in the last video, but you have to be able to communicate. It's like a human need is to be able to communicate with others to prevent chaos. If we're here and I am locked in my house, eventually I'm gonna go crazy because I have not been able to get any information out. I haven't been able to get any information in. You lose track of the days, what have you. So like there's tons of studies on how not being able to communicate with people is terrible, and it has a huge effect on mental health. And when disasters strike, emergency services are overwhelmed. Law enforcement cannot be everywhere, and panic can spread quickly. That was kind of what was starting to happen in the beginning. I think the community really came together, at least in my neighborhood, after the tornado, because everybody was outside trying to help somebody else. So that was our way of doing stuff. So there was a lot of talented people who knew a lot about, gas lines, water lines, that kind of stuff. They were showing me what to do so I could help as well. And then the panic or the chaos can also tie into looting, crime, misinformation, and people making dangerous decisions. So it's kind of like a dangerous decision could be as simple as like, okay, I'm supposed to be seeking shelter right now, but I just want to get out of the area. I don't want to be here. I want to go somewhere safe, and I just hop in my car. But that doesn't make the tornado go away. It doesn't make the hurricane go away. So that can be very dangerous. And even to talk about that, there's been times where they did mass evacuations of areas for hurricanes. I think in Florida, and roads got so backed up because everybody's trying to leave that people were just stuck on the interstate. They couldn't move, and now you're in a worse off position than if you were in your home. Now, I am not advocating for you just to leave or to stay in your home all the time, because there's the houses aren't built to withstand serious storms all the time. It depends on where you live, but sometimes it can be safer to stay home, and that's just a risk that you would have to assume yourself. All right, fifth point: information requires communication. To avoid chaos, you need information. To get information, you need to communicate, and that's as simple as it is. This is the whole point of what I'm trying to do here, to bring to light emergency communications. I know I'm not the only one out there, but this is something that I feel the need to do. So this is where you can make a difference in your community. As an individual, you and your family can make a difference for others in your community by being prepared for at least a communications plan. I'm not saying that you need to go out there and be a prepper and hoard ammunition and plate carriers and helmets, and you got to have all this stuff. You got to have a bunker, and that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that having something that is off grid, where you can communicate, whether it's a amateur radio like I have here, or a Meshtastic device that you can talk to your family pretty close together, and not have to worry about things. So back to the real world proof. This is my sixth point here. Alternate communication systems save lives. So whether it's amateur radio, GMRS, FRS, Meshtastic, those can all be used to build a system within your community to allow you to save other lives. Whether it's getting in touch with law enforcement or emergency services so that you can get help for someone, or you need to coordinate with people to go and do search and rescue, that kind of thing. It's very important to have something that is point to point, or possibly like Meshtastic, a mesh network where you will be able to perform at a higher level than if you were just without comms completely. All right, so why a communication plan matters. We've talked a lot about the disasters, but you can coordinate efforts, direct help where it's needed, protect your family, help your neighbors and communities, and you can help keep your household together. And that is super important, because whether one person has to leave or you guys are kind of splitting your efforts between helping people, it's always good to be able to have that central base to come back to, and that can require coordination. So just keep that in mind. And then let's talk about the simple first steps that you guys could take. So one, just make a plan. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be a PACE plan. That's what I recommend, but I would recommend the PACE plan just because it is redundant and it allows you to have the most capability. Who to contact, how to contact them, where to meet up if communication fails, so kind of like a rally point. Keep a couple of simple radios in the house just for friends and family. If you need to hand them out, some cheap radios would go a long way in that. All right, so disasters are unpredictable, but losing communication doesn't have to be. Just because the infrastructure goes doesn't mean that you can't have a backup plan. So keep that in mind. Let's make this all better, and let's move forward in our steps to build better communication platforms throughout our communities. Thank you guys. My name's Dylan. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.